we do want to start off with something that at the end of our last show on Friday, um, we were talking, and then you slipped on this. You typed something within TradingView, and then it was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is actually happening. And that is options on TradingView.
Options. So the whole chain is there now. Before it was just the Indian markets, and it looked like they were just kind of demoing it, and they were playing around with this graphical options tool that gave you a sense of the Greeks and maybe some of the performance or the options curve available to you. But the real recent change here is that if you pull open the symbols on TradingView and you hit the options tab, there are full options chains available for all of the major indices as well as several different stocks. So like I think there's Tesla options on here. There's Microsoft options. No, not Microsoft. I'm not actually sure where the like comprehensive list is, but I know
There isn't one.
yeah, what I've noticed is that they are at least covering like the major indexes. So if I want the Qs, there's the full option chain there, SPY. Now I did have to pay for options data through Opra, which is $2 a month through TradingView, and that gave me all real time options chain data and options pricing data. So obviously what this means is that now you can wire up a 0 DTE contract or even just a weekly, or pick whatever expiry you want on a put or call, and at whatever strike price you want, and then send over your signals to TradersPost from that options contract. Before, what we would do to support options is you would trade the underlying, and you would trade SPY, for example, and you'd send over a buy or sell signal based on the underlying price movement, and we would scan the options chain for you and execute a trade on your behalf in options. But now you can actually trade the literal contract that you want to trade, apply a technical indicator to it, send over the signal for us to buy or sell, and we'll open that contract on your behalf. So this also means that it is now possible for you to open up trades on multiple contracts. You could have maybe the SPY 572 put, the 573 put, the 550 put, whatever you want, and have multiple strategies running at the same time at different strike prices or even different expirations.
I don't know if you were in the same situation I was in, but I had some clients who wanted to be able to have strategies that either traded options or use options data as part of the indicator set. And it was very difficult. They'd have to build their own platform, subscribe to the data in some third party place, and then find some way of tying in what they were doing on TradingView to be able to use that information before it can be sent to be executed at the broker. And I remember I was dealing with that just a couple of weeks ago. And I don't know if you ever looked into the cost. Oh, of course you've looked into the cost of subscribing to real time options information for quite a number of symbols. It's not cheap. And so after Friday, when you told me, oh, we're gonna have to subscribe for the data because it's delayed, I was looking for $100 a month price ticket,
$300 a month, $500 a month. Yeah.
Well, to get it on currencies and some currencies,
Sure.
you
It can
need
be
to
really
pay that.
expensive. Yeah.
When I saw $2, I was like, thank
$2.
God.
$2 is worth it.
Totally worthwhile.
Yep.
And just to put a finer note on it, so in addition to be able to trade the options, so many times there are all kinds of strategies that we couldn't do before on just the underlying on the stock, that using options informations might inform your decisions. So
Yep.
for example, you might get other types of bullish or bearish signals that are coming from the options chain before the actual underlying starts moving, especially when you're dealing with daily, weekly, monthly timeframes. The explosion, the Cambrian explosion we might start to have now, if this actually rolls out and we have access to all the different options on all the different assets, of what kind of information we can use to inform our trading decisions on futures and on spot prices are really enormous, because you will no longer need to infer the information or adjust your strategies every day to account for the gamma inside of the market for options or what's going on fixed strike vol or what have you. Now you can apply that directly to your strategy. So it's extremely exciting to me.
Extremely exciting. And I totally agree. I think, and I know, I don't know if you want me to tell anybody this, but I know you're like quietly working on calculating the Greeks from an options contract that's currently selected. If you didn't want me to tell anybody, we'll just cut the live show now, and we'll make sure that I'm taking out. No, I'm kidding. Being able to calculate the Greeks gives you all kinds of information about the value of the contract that you're interested in trading. But even on a forward-looking basis, if you're trading an underlying and you want to know what the options market thinks about the forward sentiment for that stock or that symbol, it's really helpful to gather some of that data from an options contract. So I'm imagining there's going to be a whole host of new indicators that are going to crop up in the PineScript community that will give us, some new options insights that we didn't have before. I hope you're first to market on the Greeks there, Tom.
Well, I'm hoping to be the. There is some difficulty with the. Dealing with the Black-Scholes model, I've only ever had to use external libraries for that, and TradingView, the PineScript doesn't have some of the libraries that you're used to, and so I'm almost inclined to just go ahead and build a library for us to use, because I can imagine someone wants to use they want to figure out what the gamma is in their script. They don't want to calculate the whole thing or copy and paste this behemoth into their code base. So it could be pretty interesting. Are you able to share your screen to show what the options looks like, the chain looks like in TradingView? Because I can't actually.
I think so. Let's give it a go.
There we go.
Cool.
So if you go into you're choosing a ticker, you can type in OPRA colon, and that'll show you. Or the actual word options. But if you do Opera colon, you'll get all the different options that are available for the exchange.
And there are a lot. Unfortunately, they're not in any kind of like particular order. So you just got to keep scanning to see what symbol coverage they have. I've noticed, of course, Tesla, SPY, the Qs. I've seen Meta in here. It looks like they've got SPX, which of course, it's worth reminding our users, we don't currently support SPX options trading. SPY we do, the ETF. Eventually in the future, we should be able to provide coverage for SPX, but it's not currently supported. However, I do see the symbol there from TradingView, so that'll be a big one. Meta.
What I'm doing at the moment is that I'll use this app called CleanShot X, or I'm sure there's equivalent on Windows, where you can do a screen grab and then scroll and capture. And so I captured the entire list, take that image, cut it into parts, put it into ChatGPT, extract all the different text, and then organize the information the way I needed to organize.
I figured you'd come up with some. I'm just sitting here going through the alphabet now, like HIJKL, M. Okay, so Meta, N, nothing there. O, P, Q. Okay, we have the Qs, R, S, SPY, of course, and SPX. I know that's on the list. T for Tesla, U, nothing there. V, W, X, Y, and Z, nothing can be there. So there's not a lot of coverage. Obviously, it looks like we just have the SPY, the SPX, Tesla, Meta, and Qs. So not a big list, but it is exciting to see that we can at least start trading real option strategies. So what I have up on my screen here is an example of me just kind of tinkering around with a new strategy here. I just pulled the basic Bollinger Band strategy off the shelf, made a modification to it to where it's just long only. Typically, it's a long short strategy where it enters long and then reverses and goes short. But I changed the code to actually just be long only, because what I'm looking at here is effectively, I guess I can change this to the SPY put 571, which would be in the money. If I'm assuming if there's any kind of breakdown in the options price here, roughly around, we'll call it 5 cents, that might be a good opportunity to buy this put as we get to an overextended territory. However, this squeeze is kind of bothering me if I'm looking at this from a technical perspective. So it might be better to actually like trade the breakout on this rather than a Bollinger Band strategy. But I have at the bottom here the underlying, so I can kind of know where the current SPY price is. And now with this strategy, the Bollinger Band strategy, I could just wire this up with an alert and send over the standard TradingView payload here, and send this to a webhook URL to TradersPost, so that every time there's an entry, I go long the put, and when there's an exit, it'll exit the put. And what we're sending over is literally the ticker for this options contract. So the strategy I would set up on TradersPost would be the SPY September 27th expiration put at, did we lose my screen? There we go. Put at the 571. And that would allow me to automate this strategy for as long as I want. Now, let's say I have another strategy that I'm running, for example, that trades from the underlying from SPY, and I want to choose those contracts. One of the things I want to work on next is how to select the best contract, or excuse me, the best options strike price based on the underlying. So all I need to know is like, what's the next available expiration and the next strike price. And I know, Tom, you and I have been talking about tinkering with a tool there that gives you kind of like the next available expiration, even if that's 0 DTE. And then with the current live price, we'll just round that down to the lowest point, and then that would be the options contract that we want to trade. But we can verify if that contract exists by using the request dot the
Security?
security, the request dot security function, and that should give us back a symbol. So I know we're tooling around with some ideas there, but definitely the idea here would be we should be able to very quickly start standing up some strategies that work in both the underlying to trade options, specific contracts, or trade the exact contract that you want to trade in an automated way.
I'm more familiar with options than futures. You're more familiar with futures than options. In futures, when you're trading, do you deal a lot with just checking to see, even on Qs or spies, if it's in contango or backwardation? Does that affect at all your strategy, or are you just looking, or you look for the leverage?
I do like to look at the forward contracts, but that's sort of on a discretionary basis. So I'll look at the forward curve because it goes out for so long, right? When you're looking at the forward curve in futures, especially on the Nasdaq 100 or the NQ contract, you're looking at almost a year and a half into the future. So it's not as helpful to have that directly into my strategy. But I do look at whether or not we're in contango or backwardation in order to get a sense of the overall sentiment of the market.
I understand. Okay. Well, in the same way, you've talked to me quite a bit about the understanding the nuances of futures, even if you're just trading the futures themselves, is important to be able to be successful in it, not take outsized risk and all that sort of thing.
Sure.
For options, it provides a whole other level of understanding because you get now a volatility surface, which you don't get within other assets. And if there's one thing I want to make sure that everyone gets their hands on, is that if you didn't have access to options before and options data before, and that's why you weren't actually spending any time learning the Greeks, learning how useful they are and what they tell you about the markets, now you want to get ahead of the game. You don't want to wait till TradingView drops the options feature for everyone. Get started now and get your toe wet, dip your toe in the pool, because I think in the same way that prop firms are becoming super popular for risk management and for trading, options are going to become more and more and more popular for retail investors, not only as an asset to be traded, but as an indicator itself. So I don't want to hear anyone who go like, "Oh, what's your best indicators?" and they say RSI and MACD and moving averages, and you don't mention the Greeks for options. It means you're really at the bottom of the barrel, from my perspective, I gotta say.
I totally agree. And you've inspired me. I've always looked at options from a very high level. I haven't gone as deep as you have. So I'm going to also hit the books this winter. With TradingView now supporting options in this way, there's just so much we're going to be able to do. Baking this into part of your strategy for the underlying, I think, is one of the most fascinating parts of this. You know, being able to pull options data as like a sentiment indicator or a trend following indicator, or even just a reversal signal. I think oftentimes the options market can give you a lot more about what's about to happen before the underlying signals anything to you.
That's exactly right. And since you've gotten me on the VWAP strategies, especially dealing with the daily and weeklies,
Yeah.
one of the issues is not necessarily understanding if you're going to push up on the outer boundaries of the first deviation away from the VWAP. And so you can't necessarily tell. But with options, I can. With options, I know, depending on what's in the money and what the Greeks are, if the my RSI being at 70, I'm inclined to go to 80 and 90 versus reversing from there. And so I'm so excited. Okay.